Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Welcome to Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Mandir.
Jai Ho Gopinath
Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Rupan Guru Varga ki jai, Pratik Pavan Shri Nityanand Prabhu ki jai. Prem Purushottam Sri Nandana Gaur Hari ki jai. Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Their new outfit today, ki jai. Radha Ramana Ju ki jai. Giriraj Mahārāja ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Can you turn on that light, please?
And Jiva Pavana Prabhu has already posted Mangala Chant.
Dandavat Pranam Jiva Pavana Prabhu and all
Dandavat
Vaishnavas.
Pranam all Vaishnavas.
So, we will begin with Mangalachana, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Guccha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavashta Shri Rupam Sagrajamati Sahamana Sadvekam Samadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paranam Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakhandikamshta Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupādāya Radhikāya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Kaunarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varinyam Purusham Mahantam Nārāyaṇam Vamshirasham Namami Trinandinam Bhakta Shiromanincha Shri Krishna Padam Viditaika Hridni Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasar Nārayanam Vam Satatam Prapadye Namo Vishnupādāya Krishna Preshthāya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Nishatarine Namo Vishnupādāya Gaurapreshthāya Bhutale Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Pragyāna Keshavo Iti Namine Atimartyacaritrāya Svashritanam Chaparine Jivadute Sadarkaya Shri Rama Premadayine Namo Vishnupādāya Krishna Preshthāya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabharane Lalitaaya Kripabhaye Krishna Sambandha Vidyāno Daive Prabhave Namaha Parangam Nirudhapo Siddhanta Bhaktahārine Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambodhe Padam Jayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupangadarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumestam Nirveshta Sajanam Priyam Vaishnava Sarva Bhoma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahamanandaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratrishi Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Mandam Matirgati Matsarvasvam Padam Mojo Radha Divyam Vrindaranya Kalpatumadam Śrīmad Ratnākara Simhasanastho Shri Shri Radha Śrīla Govindadeva Krishnānidhi Sevyamano Smarāmi Śrīmad Sarasāndhīvam Shivartatapasthitaha Karshande Swarayagoti Govinatha Shriyestunaha Vrindaye Tulasidevyai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradene Satyavatyai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhaktavrinda Chaitrodar Paramarjanam Bhava Mahadamam Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitarnam Vidyavadhim Jivanam Anandam Divardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritashvadanam Sarvatma Sapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Ram Mate Manam Karunasye Manasye Manasye Gatiranyatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare গুরুদেব বড় কৃপা করি গৌরবান মাঝে গৌরবান Gauravana page 33. If you do not have the songbook, Jiva Pavana Prabhu very kindly posts the bhajans in the comment section of the thread. So just scroll to his most recent post, and there you will find the bhajans along with their translations, generally followed by the beautiful commentaries of our acharyas. So thank you, Prabhu, for that. And also the Mangalata Didi, she posts the page number. So there she is, page 33. Dandavat Pranamo Vaishnavas. Gurudev Boro Kripa Kori Gauramono Majhe Godume Diyacho Sthana Boro Kripa Kori Gauramono Majhe Godume Diyacho Sthana Agyadira Mune Ebraje Voshi Harinam Agyadhiramure Ebrajevashi Harinamo Koro Gano Moro Kripa Kori Gauravono Majhe Gurume Diyacho Sthana Moro Kripa Kori Gauravono Majhe Gurume Diyacho Sthana Kintu Kave Prabhu Yogyataya Rupite Edase Doyam Kori Kintu Kave Prabhu Yogyataya Rupite Edase Doyam Kori Chittasya Bhave Sakala Sohivo Ekante Bhajivo Chittasya Bhave Sakala Sohivo Ekante Bhajivo Moro Kripa Kori Gauravono Majhe Gurume Diyacho Sthana Moro Kripa Kori Gauravono Majhe Gurume Diyacho Sthana Shaishava Jogani Jara Sukha Sange Abhyasa Hoyino Mando Shaishava Jogani Jara Sukha Sange Abhyasa Hoyino Mando Nija Karma Doshe Edeho Hoyino diyacho sthān Guru kripa kori Gauravono majhe Guruve diyacho sthān Jara sukha samge abhyasa hoino manno shashava jovani Jara sukha samge abhyasa hoino manno Bija karma doshe edeho hoino Janeva pratibandha Nija karma doshe edeho hoino Janeva pratibandha O Guru kripa kori Gauravono majhe Guruve diyacho sthān Prabhupada ki jai, Rupan Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Guru Parampara ki jai. So this bhajan we just sung, it's actually very, very powerful and very serious. It has an immense amount of gravity present within it, especially because of how it directly relates to us. Of course, in the beginning, Bhaktivedānta is praying to Gurudev, when will you mercifully give me a place in Sri Navadvip Dham, Godruma Dham, in Godrum. This is in Navadvip Dham. So, but then he's petitioning, because I indulged in mundane pleasures in my youth. Because of that, and so many bad habits, I have developed impressions, sanskars, which are unfavorable for bhakti. So I've developed habits, addictions, attractions and desires, things which are holding me back. These are anarthas. Anartha or anartha means what is against or unfavorable for the attainment of our goal. Anartha. So here, due to the reactions of my pleasure-seeking and misdeeds, this body has become an impediment to performing bhajan. So according to Ayurvedic theory and also many other medicinal theories, if one engages in a lot of sensual pleasures of the flesh, trying to enjoy, it saps their body of vitality, and then as they become older, in essence, they become more infirm, more diseased, and less able to do anything, in a lot more pain, just because of enjoying through the medium of all of their senses. And by all of that pain, they're in a very intense suffering condition, which in itself can actually be an impediment to bhajan, because when there's too much suffering or too much tribulation, too many mental difficulties, or what have you, then how can Mukunda ever reside fully within that heart? Shoka Marshadi Bhavai. So now Bhaktivedānta Thakur is praying. Really, he's showing us how we should pray. Look at my condition. I've wasted all of my energy in my youth. What is that saying, Sudevi?
What?
Something is wasted on the youth?
What is it? Youth is wasted on the young, something like that.
Youth is wasted on the young? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Or, oh, anyway.
Yeah, it's youth is wasted on the young.
If someone can send me that quote, I would really appreciate it. So, Bhaktivedānta Thakur is saying, I've become afflicted with the diseases of the five senses. So there's different kinds of diseases. One is physical disease, and the other one is the mental and emotional disease, the diseases of addiction, due to always endeavoring to satisfy one's senses and not practicing any tapasya, then still that tendency will be there. Even in old age, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada used to, you say joke, but he said even if someone's in the hospital, he's about to leave his body, he's in his 90s, and a beautiful young nurse walks by, immediately he looks. He can't help himself because he's only been addicted to doing that. He has not been practiced in controlling his senses. So here, he's saying afflicted with the disease of the five senses. So this is also a disease. This is the disease of being embodied with these material senses and with this material consciousness and false identity. It is definitely a disease. It is not allowing us, in essence, to flow according to our nature, which is to love and serve Krishna. So that should be easy, but because we are in this conditioned state of being, then we are now in a state of dis-ease. So weeping and weeping, I have fallen at your lotus feet. Please tell me how I can do bhajan. I am feeling greatly overwhelmed. So for all of us, really, this prayer is for us. Bhaktivedānta Thakur doesn't need this prayer. And yet he is feeling it in himself because of his deep humility. But we require this. Because how much do we absorb ourselves in struggling to enjoy our senses, trying to be comfortable and live in our kind of luxury, whether it's minimalist or maximal. Some people love the minimalist approach and the mode of goodness approach. And this is still bound within the material realm. So we should not fool ourselves. I was reading recently, someone posted a quote of this, and I posted it before, of Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur. He was saying that one of the greatest mistakes that has happened is that people have accidentally misunderstood the subtle body to be the soul. So most people think my spirit is my mind, intelligence, and ego. And he says, we are sorry for that. So goodness, passion, and ignorance, these are all Krishna's divine deluding energy. Daivihesha gunamayi mama maya, my maya. They're his divine deluding energy, even the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is part of the dualities of this material world. To the degree that I suffer, to that degree I will enjoy. To that degree I enjoy, to that degree I will suffer. So, goodness, passion, and ignorance are all playing on us at all times, and we are like helpless puppets in their hands. Only when we surrender to Krishna, especially taking shelter of his pure devotees, then we can become free from all of the bindings of goodness, passion, and ignorance and attain to the state of Shuddha Sattva, pure transcendental goodness. Now, Ohe Vaishnava Thakur, Doyara Saga, page 13.9. Yes, I think it is said that youth is wasted on the young, right? Sudevi? Sounds right.
Yes.
Although we have understood that Krishna wants everything young and fresh, and although we have engaged our bodies, our minds, our intelligence, our egos, our hearts, our emotions, our absorption in everything other than Krishna, practically since time without beginning, still, he wants that thing.
Well, isn't the soul ever fresh?
That pure eternal spark, which is ever fresh. O He Vaishnava Thakuram Doyan Sagaram Edase Karuna Kuru He Vaishnava Thakuram Doyan Sagaram Edase The moment I was saying Jai Vaishnava Thakur Ki Jai, I looked down and I saw the name Shashank Gupta. And then I remembered his Gurudev, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja. So thank you for that memory, just by your presence. Vaishnava Thakur Ki Jai. Dandava Pranam, Yadava Govinda. Yam Kali Rupa Sharira Nadharta. It is my impression that that was one of Srila Gurudev's favorite bhajans. He really liked it. He had it sung every time we went to Kārtika, and he would remember Srila Rupa Goswami in such a beautiful mood. But I think I'm going to sing it in a different rag today. Maybe not. Marcos. Shri Goswami Pada Ki Jai. That's page 47. Yang Kali Rupa Shariro Nadha Yang Kalirupa Śrīla Sanātana Yang Kalirupa Śrīla Sanātana Yang Kalirupa Śrīla Oh Sanātana Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Jai Jai Nityananda, Rohini Kumar, page 64. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Nityananda Rohini Kumar Jaya Jaya Nityananda Rohini Kumar Kartika Udharo Lagi Ubahu Pasara Kartika Udharo Lagi Ubahu Pasara Gala Gala Madhura Madhuraya So, although many of you have heard this before, because yesterday was the anniversary of the disappearance day of our beloved Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, And we just sung this beautiful bhajan by Vrindavan Das Thakur, glorifying Sri Nityananda Prabhu. I wanted to share, for the benefit of the devotees, how Sri Guru is also a non-different manifestation of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Sri Guru, who is really endowed with Sri, is Shakti Avesh, especially empowered by Sri Nityananda Prabhu. In fact, Sri Nityananda Prabhu is non-different from Baladev Prabhu. And Baladev Prabhu or Nityananda Prabhu, they are known as Akhanda Guru Tattva, or the unbroken, complete perspective of Guru, Guru Tattva. And all of our Gurus, pure Gurus, bona fide, transcendental spiritual masters, they are manifestations in essence of that Guru Tattva. So, sometimes it happens that Sri Guru will manifest the mood of Nityananda Prabhu. And this story or katha, history, I'm going to tell you is interesting because it does not only involve one form of the spiritual master. Rather, it involves the same wine in two different bottles, as our Srila Gurudev would frequently say. Same wine, new bottle. So there's one devotee. He was one of the first Gurukulis, one of the oldest children in Srila Prabhupada's movement. He's not a child anymore. He's probably somewhere around 57 now, but he's still a kid. Anyhow, so his name, it was John. And his mother, Jagadatri, she joined ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, when he was about 9 or 10 years old. And so immediately, he was also encultured within the Krishna consciousness movement. And one day, he was in Srila Prabhupada's room along with many devotees in Los Angeles, and it was quite cold out. And Srila Prabhupada saw him, and saw that he was there in a dhoti, but he had no shirt. Everyone else was bundled up, but he was sitting there, no shirt, very straight. And Prabhupada said to him, "You're not feeling cold?" He said, "No, Srila Prabhupada." And he said, "Oh, like Raghunath Das Gosvāmī, I will call you Raghunath." And so from that moment, everyone called him Raghunath. So this Raghunath, he's always been connected with Krishna and with the devotees, always been endeavoring to serve, always friendly with the devotees, always laughing and joking. It's his nature. And he's also trying to be a politician at the same time. So, this Raghunath, he was kind of, you say, floating in his spirituality, like most of us, where we kind of find our comfortable balance. We hang out with the devotees, we go to the temple for kirtan and prasadam, but we don't really make an endeavor in bhajan, really to go deep and to weep and to cry and to pray and to progress. So for so many years, he was, in essence, floating like this. It's a kind of stagnancy. Our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta, Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, he explained that bhakti is like a flowing river, like the Ganga. Non-stop flow. It's not meant to be stagnant. He said if you take a bucket of water from the river and let it sit, what will happen to it over time? Gradually it will begin to stagnate. It will become smelly and slimy. That's what happens. Bhakti's nature is to flow. So you cannot stop that course. It must continue, and then it will be ever fresh and pure. So this devotee was in essence like this, just moving around like that. After some time, his mother became attracted to associating with high-class Vaishnavas like our Srila Gurudev. By the way, I want to share this with you all right now. Just last night, Jagadatri's mother, that's Raghu's grandmother, was also very nice. She was at 103. She just departed from this world. So if we can just say a prayer for her, send her some Hare Krishna vibes. Of course, there are so many devotees in her family lineage, but still, we can pray for her that may she attain a good situation where she will be able to rapidly progress on the path of pure devotion to Krishna. So, this Raghunath's mother, after some years, became attracted to hearing from our Srila Gurudev. And one day in Hawaii, it so happened that this Raghunath was outside of Gurudev's room, not too far away, near his window, kind of laughing and joking and making noise. And then Gurudev started calling, "Raghunath! Raghunath! Come here!" Now we know that Nityananda Prabhu did this to Raghunath Das Goswami, who was staying at quite a distance. He was feeling somewhat shy. And Nityananda Prabhu was calling to him, "Raghunath, come here! Only a thief stays hidden in the distance. Come before us," like this. So Raghunath, the one I've been speaking about, he came inside Gurudev's room and he went and offered Dandavat Pranam at Gurudev's lotus feet. At that moment, Srila Gurudev put both of his feet on Raghunath's head and then began saying to him, "Will you take? Will you take?" Raghunath had already received Harinam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra from Srila Prabhupada. But he had not received Diksha, the Diksha Mantras. Gurudev was saying, "Will you take? Will you take?" And he said his feet were heavy, and he said he was pinned to the floor, and he was kind of like this, and he just said, "Yes, yes." And he said immediately then and there, Srila Gurudev gave him the Diksha Mantras. These are the mantras for establishing one's relationship with Guru Gauranga and our particular eternal inherent relationship with Krishna. So immediately, Gurudev gave him those Diksha Mantras. Of course, we know with the Raghunath Das Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu placed his lotus feet upon the head of Raghunath Das Goswami and told him, "Only a thief stays at a distance. You tried to steal that property which belonged to me." In other words, Raghunath Das Goswami tried to go directly to Mahaprabhu without first going to Nityananda Prabhu. But Mahaprabhu is the property of Nityananda Prabhu. Without first coming to the feet of Sri Guru, without first coming to Nityananda Prabhu, we cannot attain the shelter or the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu that the dam of praying was broken open and the flood of praying went everywhere, even to the most fallen and the most wicked. So therefore we have hope. One devotee asked our Srila Gurudev, "You have Radha Krishna Mahaprabhu, where's Nityananda Prabhu?" He said, "Nityananda Prabhu is situated in front of you right now in the form of Sri Guru." So we should also see Sri Guru as a non-different manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu. Subsequently to that, let me finish Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Das Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu then engaged him in serving all of the Vaishnavas. Then he sent him to Mahaprabhu, who gave him unto the care of Śrī Dāmodara Goswami. But with this Raghunath, the one I'm talking about, who was in Hawaii with Srila Gurudev, Gurudev placed his lotus feet upon his head and then said, "Will you take? Will you take?" In other words, he's trying to give him mercy, trying to pull him from his material stagnancy toward the flow of pure bhakti. So immediately then and there, he gave Raghunath the Diksha Mantras and tried to inspire him on the path of bhakti. And so, subsequently to that, Raghunath told us this whole interaction. And after that, he endured a very terrible accident, and he can't remember that anymore, but he had told us before his accident. And so we reminded him. He's like, "Oh, I don't remember that." But that is the nature of the mercy of Sri Guru. That is an example of how Krishna will not let go. If someone at one point or another has tried to give their energy, their heart and everything, then Krishna might come and demand, "You've already given yourself. Now come with me," like this. So at one point there might be a lot of freedom and free will and independence, and Krishna says, "I direct the wanderings of the living entities according to their desires." But once one comes to Sri Guru, then it is according to what Sri Guru desires for us. We have submitted ourselves to Gurudev, And Gurudev has also submitted himself to us. He has given himself to us in the form of Guru Mantra, Guru Gayatri, his teachings, his instructions, the essence of his heart. I am yours and you are mine. But there's always a speciality. Srila Gurudev said, in guru-disciple relationship, there must always be some proper etiquette. The guru is always the guru, and the disciple is always the disciple. It may be that there is intimate relationship and friendship, Vishramba Guru Seva. But within this world, in sadhak form, there's always this hierarchy. In this connection, once upon a time, we were giving Gurudev a massage in Singapore. I think myself and Jag Mohan Prabhu. And Srila Gurudev sat up in the middle of the massage and he said, you know, there, it's not the same as here. He said, here we have a very strong, fixed hierarchy. Guru-disciple. Guru-disciple. It's very strong and fixed. There's no doubt about who's the guru and who's the disciple. But in that transcendental realm, he said, seva, or this hierarchy is a little bit more loose. It's all dependent on the necessity for seva. And then he said, sometimes Rupa tells Rati, you should do this. And sometimes Rati, according to the necessity of seva, will tell Rupa, you should do this. There's a hierarchy. They're under the guidance of Sri Rupa. But yet, they're all very, very close friends, girlfriends. And according to the necessity of seva, they may direct each other because they are not each other's goal. The goal is to serve the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So I wanted to share that with you. So Gurudev manifested that Nityananda Prabhu nature to this Raghunath and gave his mercy in the form of relationship, sambandha jnana, divyam jnanam shapayati iti diksha. Transcendental knowledge is divyam jnanam, of your relationship with Guru. Not only here in this world, but there also. Gurudev explained this word Krishnanandaya. He said, I remember, he came out of his room in Fiji from in the house of Kanti Punja, and he just started speaking about this. He said, this means who is giving pleasure to Krishna, Ananda to Krishna, and Ananda to Krishna. That is Srimati Radhika. So who's pleasing Radha and Krishna? This is Sri Guru. And that can only be in female form. Gurudev explained this. In this realm, in sadhak form, seva sadhaka rupena, one is worshipping in one way. And then in siddharupena chatrahi, Sri Guru is worshipping in the form of a Sakhi, Shri Radha and Krishna, as a gopi. So Srila Gurudev explained that to us. So now we will call out for the mercy of Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari in that bhajan which Srila Gurudev likes so many Gauranga bhajans. Gaurangir Dutipada Jaradhana Sampada. This was very, very deep for Srila Gurudev. From our experience, seeing him over the years, he would always put a time limit on our Hare Krishna. Excuse me, I have to tell him. Radhe Radhe, abhi ne, busy hai, hamare program hai, baad mein, Radhe Radhe. Thank you. Somehow it affects all of it at the same time. So Srila Gurudev, with this Gaurangir Dutipada Jaradhana Sampada, he would close his eyes. And Sudevi, do you want to sing this?
Oh, Kishori, I can.
Okay, okay.
Sorry, thank you.
He would ask her to sing it.
Right.
He would close his eyes. He would call her up to sing it, and then when she would start, he would just open his eyes for a second, and put 2 fingers like this. Means sing each line twice. I'm not going to do it because of time, but during those programs, even though there may have been a time limit, he didn't want that bhajan to be rushed. He wanted it to be slow, with a deep mood. He would close his eyes and just tap his fingers together like this and chant along. A very, very deep and intense mood. And usually we didn't see him demand that the bhajans would be sung and go so long with each line sung twice. We would see that sometimes we would say, okay, time to speed up so that we can continue with the Harikatha. But that one, never. He always took time with that. And you could see him meditating and going very deep with that bhajan. So Gaurangera Dutipada Jara Dhana Sampada, page 74. Gaurangero Dutipada Jardhano Sampada Gaurangero Dutipada Jardhano Sampada Se jane bhakti raso se jane bhakti raso Gaurangero madhur leela jar karne praveshila Gaurangero madhur leela jar karne praveshila Hridoya nirmala bhelota Hridoya nirmala bhelota Je Gaurange naolo Tar hoye Gaurangero Sangigare Nitya Siddha Gaurivare Gaurangero Sangigare Nitya Siddha Gaurivare Se Jai Brojendro Sudopa Se Jai Brojendro Sudopa Shri Gora Mandal Parikrama Jai Bhajane Chintamani Shri Gora Mandal Parikrama Jai Bhajane Chintamani Par Bhol Raj Bhume Star Bhol Raj Bhume Gora Premora Sarnave Se Tarange Jevarume Gora Premora Sarnave Se Tarange Jevarume Se Radha Madhuru Antaranga Se Radha Madhuru Antaranga Grihe Vane Thake Ha Gauranga Govirate Grihe Vane Thake Ha Gauranga Govirate Narotamani Haru Sangha Narotamani Haru Sangha Gaurangero Dukipado Jharkhano Sampada Gaurangero Dukipado Jharkhano Sampada Se Jane Bhakti Rasa Se Jane Bhakti Rasa Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Gaura He Śrī Satyavrata Muni ki anyone who knows or who has met or heard from our Srila Gurudev would know unequivocally that one of Srila Gurudev's main specialities in his preaching was establishing to us who Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is and what he came to give. When I was very, very young, I saw Srila Gurudev for the first time. And I remember it. But the next time I saw him was about 10 years later. It was in 1996 in Sri Navadvip at Sri Devananda Gauriya during the time of Braj Mandal Parikrama, near the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth, Sachinandan Gaurahari's birth, means his appearance day. And I guess I'll do this now. So, many devotees were going to come to India for Mayapur Navadvip Parikrama, Braj Mandal Parikrama, from the temple in ISKCON Los Angeles. And I wanted to go with them. I hadn't been back to India since I was in Vrindavan Gurukul when I was quite young. I was about 9 and 10 years old. So, or maybe 10, 11. So, I finally was going to get my opportunity to come back to India, except I was short of money. So I actually made my first album, a recording. I was living in a garage with the brahmacharya. Maybe many of you might know him, TK, Titikshava Karunika. He was doing like the Krishna rock. He played guitar and recorded albums. So I was staying there in that place with Titikshava Karunika. And he happened to be gone for some time, so I decided to record something. So I just did a very simple recording, made a cassette, and titled it Mandali's Midnight Melodies, because I recorded it at midnight. And I was actually selling it to the devotees to make a little money to come to India, but still I was short. So I asked my father, and can you lend me some money? He said, how much do you need? I said, I need $200. So he said on one condition, when you go to India, you should go find Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. Offer your pranam to him and hear from him. And Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Mahārāja. Offer your pranam to him and hear from him. And I was thinking, whatever. But sure, I needed the money, so I just said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And so he gave me $300 just to seal the deal. My father had been reading from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. He was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, but he had appreciation. Also, he had previously heard from Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and he was inspired by our Srila Gurudev, having read some of his Harikatha. So, he was always trying to encourage me that I should develop in my spiritual life, that I should hear from Vaishnavas, from sadhus. If I couldn't trust anyone here, then find someone somewhere that I could trust so that I could progress in my bhakti. So he was always trying to encourage me. And sometimes it was a little frustrating. I was like, yeah, you know I don't want a guru. I mean, I saw Prabhupada and then I saw so many falling down, so I had lost faith in the idea of guru. But he kept always trying to encourage me. So he gave $300 to seal the deal. I got to Mayapur. Everyone in Mayapur was partying. There was the donut stand and the pizza booth and all beautiful people coming together and doing kirtan and having fun, and so many beautiful young boys and so many beautiful young girls, and all the young people were hanging out together. And it was just kind of a big festival. And of course, so many were there also for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the parikrama, for developing in bhakti, but not everyone was there to develop in bhakti. A lot of people were there just for the hangout, the socialism. Or socializing, sorry, not socialism, socializing. And so I completely forgot about my promise to my father. Subsequently to that, I was in the tent and it was supposed to be the first day of going out on the parikrama, but I became so sick with something like maybe typhoid. I was so sick. I don't think maybe I've been that sick again, but it was very bad. I could barely move. I thought, I was on my way out. And I was just in this tent in the sun by myself all day, just kind of withering away. And finally, the group that we came with, they arranged for me to have a smaller tent nearer to bathroom and some cooking facility where some devotees provided me some prasadam and kind of started nourishing me back to health. So I was in this tent, and this one boy named Krishnadas, who I had never met before, knocked on my tent and said, "Do you have room in your tent?" I said, "Sure." There's a little bit of room. And I said, "But I'm sick, so, you'll take a risk staying here." He said, "No problem. So let me just go get my stuff." So he went to get his stuff, and he came back. I wasn't able to go on the parikrama. I was lying there. And he put his stuff in the tent, and he said, "Figured since you're not able to go out and you're not doing anything else, you might want to read a book." I said, "Sure, what do you got?" And he said, "Here." And he gave me a red book entitled Śrī Guru Bandhana by Srila Govinda Maharaj, who had just less than 2 weeks before departed from our vision in this world. And this is all playing into something, so bear with me. So this boy, he went out on parikrama, and I was just stuck there in this tent, just lying there, and I had nothing to do. And this was one of the first books I looked at where the type was really big, and I thought, I can read this. So I was just lying there reading it, and it was quite deep, quite heavy with the Guru Tattva, and quite focused on Guru Tattva. Shri Guru Charana Padma. What is Shri? What is this Padma? Why? Everything was there. It was so powerful, but I was still as dense as a brick. Still am, but maybe a little bit of fractures within the brick, so something might be able to penetrate a little bit. And after parikrama, this boy came back. And it was the first book, actually, first Vaishnava book I read in one day, cover to cover. I was about 22 years old, 20 years old, something like that. And he said to me, he offered, "If you want, I can get us in to see Srila Puri Maharaj and Srila Nārāyaṇa Maharaj. Would you like that?" Just like that. And I was like, I did promise my father. I'm like, yeah, okay. Since he was arranging everything, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So then the day came, it was like a day or two later. He said, "Okay, I have 2 rickshaws ready." I was like, 2 rickshaws? So one rickshaw had 3 girls, Gurukul girls, and the other rickshaw was for me and this boy, Krishnadas, who had only been a devotee for about 2 years. And he wasn't initiated, that was just the name everyone called him, Krishnadas. And so we went to go see Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, who either wasn't there or wasn't available at that moment. We went to Gopinath Gauriya. So then he said, "Okay, let's go across the Ganga and we'll go see Srila Nārayaṇa Maharaj and then we'll see Srila Puri Maharaj on the way back." I said, "Okay." So he brings us across the Ganga, takes us on these rickshaws all the way to Devananda Gauriya Math, brings us to Devananda Gauriya Math. And there is, on the ground, like walking around the ground, Vrindavan Vilasini Didi and Kalimba, Kanak Manjari. And they're like, "Oh, Mandali." My birth name is Mandali Bhadra Das. "Mandali, how are you? Wow, what brings you here?" And they're like, "Come, let me introduce you to Nārayaṇa Maharaj." And I remember saying, I know what he looks like because I had seen him when I was 10 years old. So they brought me up the stairs, up to the top, and then the stair, it bends around, and then up to the top. And there, that vision of Srila Gurudev that I had had in my mind, in my heart from when I was 10 years old, basically came out of my own heart and manifested in front of me was sitting right there. I recognized him immediately. And we offered our pranam to him, and we sat down. And somebody was in the corner crying, and another devotee was sitting over there crying, and Gurudev was like, "Why are you always crying? You should go cry somewhere." He was just joking and teasing. Why always crying like this? And I believe Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja was just in the room next to where Gurudev was sitting. So Gurudev was sitting on the veranda, and just in the room next to him was Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And so, the first thing Srila Gurudev said to us, "Do you have any questions?" And I was like, yeah. I did the same thing with Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Mahārāja. But I said to Srila Gurudev, yes. And he said, what? And I said, why are they telling us that we should not come and see you? Because he used to be very, close friends and close-knit, invited to the temple for every Prabhupada's disappearance day and to speak on Baladev Purnima, and the devotees, would mix with him, and it was sweet and nice. But I said, why are they telling us that we shouldn't come and see you? He said, oh. That is because when the devotees come to see me and they hear the Harikatha, they like it so much, they think it is so sweet that they don't want to return. So they are somewhat sore, like sour. And I thought, wow, what a refreshing, honest, simple, straightforward answer. It wasn't a big, complicated, touch-fic answer or anything. It didn't have a whole lot of fluff or flowery language involved. It was just a simple, basic, common sense. And apparently I needed that for me to be able to let my guard down. Because, of course, growing up in the society where I grew up, there was a lot of pretense in the name of bhakti, and anyone could almost philosophize anything and make it okay. So, as children who grew up in the society, most of us, you could say, were able to catch all of that. Like Sudevi told, her and her sister knew that their guru, the local guru, was not a pure devotee. Years before, the parents told them, oh, he's not a pure devotee. They're like, yeah, we know. And also I knew at the age of 7. I just knew. And so, going to Srila Gurudev at that time, he answered that question so beautifully and simply. And I thought, wow, how refreshing. They like it. They like how I speak. They're attracted to it. They find it to be sweet, so they want to stay. And because they're staying, they become upset about it. Simply that. And I thought, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Why not? And then, it was interesting because first he asked us if we had any questions. And then he said, I have a question. And then that was a little different. Uh-oh, what's his question? What is the reason for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world? And I'm telling this whole lead up for a reason. Because this was one of Gurudev's specialities. Really impressing within all of us who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, why he came to this world, and what he came to give, what he wanted to awaken within us. Now, I know we've spoken about it so much. It's probably intrinsic within all of you, way before even all of these classes, since you've been hearing from Srila Gurudev. But this was one of his primary focuses in his preaching. He really wanted all of us to understand who he is, why he came to this world, what he came to experience, what he came to give, what he wanted us to receive. So, this was his question. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear in this world? And there was the 3 girls, then myself, then this boy. So the first girl, I think her name was Tulsi, she said to give Harinam Sankirtan He said, yes. Something more? She said, I don't know. Then he went to the next Gurukuli. Mind you, we were born and raised in Krishna consciousness, in Vaishnava schools, with all of this information impressed within us since our birth. And yet, I was realizing something at this moment. The next one, she said, to give Krishna praying? He said, yes. Something more? She said, no. The next one, she was like, again, Harinam Sankirtan. And Gurudev was like, next. To me, it was my turn. And I was like, let's see, he's the golden avatar. I think on one book on the front cover, it said something about the life of a Vaishnava saint. And I just said, to give Harinam Sankirtan and Krishna praying. I thought I'd be smart. Because, of course, I knew all of the verses of Brahma Samhita from when I was 5. I had memorized them, right? But he just looked at me and he's like, more? And I was empty. I thought, my God, I don't know anything. Then he comes to this new boy, Krishna Das. This Krishna Das, he asked him, what is the reason for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world? And Krishna Das, who had been associating with devotees for only 2 years, and hearing from Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said, to taste the moods of Srimati Radhika. And Gurudev said, yes. And then he looked straight at me. The blue laser eye look that kind of makes you like this. And he said, if you do not know all of these truths, how can you preach? I was thinking, wow, I don't know anything. I literally felt like one of those little green peas on the floor. Literally. I felt like that. I don't know anything. I thought I knew so much. I don't even know who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is and what he came to give. What he came to experience. Why he's even here. I don't know that. And I've been a devotee my whole life. And I was like, blew my mind. That moment, it was like my bubble of pride of being born and raised in the Gurukul and thinking I knew so much. It was like this little pin. Popped that bubble, and I felt like a pea on the floor in front of him. And I realized I can learn from this person. One, he's simple, straightforward, honest, and he knows something that I don't know. A lot. At that moment. And then he also knew what was in my heart. Because I had this feeling, this desire. You can ask Sudevi, since the beginning of our marriage, and before that, I even used to write about it when I was going to university, like my future plan. I was planning on maybe having a small motorhome and traveling and doing book distribution and preaching the mission of Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was what I had planned to do. Little did I know that I would be engaged in traveling the world and without a motorhome and going from house to house and doing this for the last 20 years. But Gurudev could see, he knew what my desire was inside. He said, well, I don't know why he didn't tell any of the others. He looked at me. If you do not know all of these truths, how can you preach? Then I realized I can learn from him. That moment he extracted my shraddha, my faith, my regard, my respect, my honor. And I felt I can learn from him. So almost immediately it was this guru-disciple, guru and shishya, I can learn from you. And then I even offered so many of my Gurukul friends, they have so many questions, but they don't get satisfactory answers. So maybe I can point them to you if they need their questions answered. We were actually told as Gurukulis, don't ask questions. And there was a reason for it. We were quite snooty, antagonistic at times, quite puffed up, and very knowledgeable at the same time. And some of us could even run circles around some of the seniors from where we were from. Just because of the knowledge of shloks, the ability to recite verses. One of our friends once, I'm not going to tell you his name, he was giving class in the temple in Los Angeles. And
he told us ahead of time. He told us ahead of time what he was going to do.
He said to all of his friends, us Gurukuls, watch this, watch what I'm going to do. And so we all knew what he was going to do, and he very expertly did it. He was reciting the wrong shlok, giving the wrong definition to that verse, mixing up the verses and saying all sorts of stuff and throwing the verses out. And most of the people were just sitting there going, yeah, wow, that was amazing. And they really appreciated the class, not understanding or realizing that he was making a joke out of it and mixing up and twisting. He didn't say anything bad or wrong necessarily, but he was not giving the right definition to the right verse or even the complete correct verses. And so he was able to run circles around everyone like Nimai Pandit would do. And it was kind of a sign of the times. So coming in front of Srila Gurudev, because of this, they had told us, Gurukulis, don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. Well, that's the end of spiritual life right there. But also, we didn't have sincerity because we didn't know who to trust. When I met Srila Gurudev for the first time after so many years, I felt I could breathe. Finally, someone I can trust. Even though there were persons within the society I was present within that I could trust, I didn't know it, or I was not willing to open my heart to trusting, because it's natural to, when you see 30 or 40 of those persons who are in that position fail that position, it's hard to then accept the next one who might be the real thing within that same society. So I had lost my faith. When I met Gurudev, it was like, I can breathe. I found someone I can trust. And so I offered that I can bring my friends to him if they have any questions, so that he could answer their questions, because they did have questions. We had one friend who was literally driving himself mad because he couldn't find the answer to his questions. He was reading Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu. He was reading all scriptures, all of the books, and he was like, there's something more. Something is missing. He's like, I know it's there, but I can't figure it out. And you know what it is? Taking shelter of Shri Guru. That's the thing that was missing. All of that endeavor on his own, but he missed the point that on every single page of Prabhupada's books, it says you must surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire submissively from him. Render service unto him. So the lack of ability to inquire, the lack of ability or willingness to surrender, and definitely no one wanted to serve anybody, none of us wanted to serve anybody, that in essence blocked our spiritual progress. So finally, by the grace of Krishna, I was brought to the lotus feet of Sri Guru, Śrīla Gurudev Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja in Navadvip. And that mood was extracted from my heart. I just have to add something to this. So then it was time for everyone to go. I've told this before. And I noticed that everyone was paying pranam at his feet, and they would touch his feet. And we were like, oh, they don't do that where we came from. They don't touch the Guru's feet. Everyone's afraid of getting your karma. It might make them sick. That was what we were told. So don't touch their feet, because they'll get sick if you give them your karma. But everyone was touching Gurudev's feet. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Guess he's not afraid of getting sick. And one after the next, then they started, some were bowing down and putting their head on his feet. And I thought, whoa, that's pretty interesting. They're putting their head on his feet. And then it was getting a little bit more. The one who went just before me, she was rather big Indian lady. And she didn't just put her head on his feet, she was rubbing her head on his feet. And I thought, wow, that's quite amazing. And I guess I'm next. I'm supposed to do that too. So I copied her. I put my head on his feet and I was just doing that. And I just felt at that moment like a little puppy, a little dog, just like that kind of feeling at the feet of Gurudev. And then we offered pranam at the door to Srila Bhaktivedānta Vāman Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And we went back to Go see Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. So I'm not going to tell the rest of this, but it was that moment. Srila Gurudev, this was one of his main focus points. Who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Radha Bhava Duty Sivalikam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. He's Krishna himself, endeavoring to taste the moods of love and affection that Srimati Radhika has for Krishna. This is his main reason for appearing in this world. Not Harinam Sankirtan, not even to give Krishna praying. His primary reason is to taste the moods of Srimati Radhika's love and affection for Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states it very clearly. Then, the second of the primary reasons is the call of Advaita Acharya, who is a non-different manifestation of the Lord. He is calling for him to come right now. So by the calling of Advaita Acharya, he manifested when he did. And then the secondary reasons. The first, or 2a and 2b. There are secondary reasons. This means incidental or the natural byproduct of the first. One is to give Krishna praying. What kind of Krishna praying? Braja praying. What kind of Braja praying? Well, what was he tasting? Radha Bhav. So, the Braja praying, which is really flowing from that. What he is experiencing, sharing some nectar sprinkles or the vapor of the nectar sprinkles of that, Unata Ujvala Rasang Sva Bhakti Shriyam. The beauty of that Unata Ujvala Rasa, that highest transcendental love and affection for Krishna that Srimati Radhika has. And that beauty, Srila Gurudev emphatically declared again and again and again, is the mood of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. Radha Dasyam. Following in the wake of the service of Sri Rupa Manjari. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give as a secondary. Krishna Prema Pradayate. Specifically that kind of Krishna Prema. And then also the Yuga Dharma, which is Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the primary are for his own internal purposes, and the secondary are related to the jivas of this world. Advaita Acharya also could have given this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because he is also Mahavishnu. It is the function of the avatars to give the Yuga Dharma, and the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan. Except Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, imbued that Harinam Sankirtan with that special capacity, especially in this Kali Yuga, of awakening Braja Prem. It means the love and affection that the Brajavasis have for Krishna, especially that of Srimati Radhika, and especially that of her maidservants. So, this is what Srila Gurudev's first question to us was. What is the reason for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world? And then, over time, again and again and again, Srila Gurudev would always have these points discussed, as we have been discussing in, Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, as we've been discussing in Going Beyond Vaikuntha, it's in Pinnacle of Devotion, in Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam, Śrī Shikshāṣṭakam. This is one of the main focal points of Srila Gurudev's preaching, that we don't misunderstand this. What is he here to experience? So that really made an impression on me and on my heart. So, because I have just spoken about this point, I want to sing with you Śrī Radha Vino Bihari Tattvāṣṭakam, which is written or composed from the heart of our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. If one wants to please Srila Gurudev, and really this is what one should be always, any disciple should always be focusing on pleasing their Gurudev. Especially on the days of his disappearance and appearance. And his appearance is coming also very soon. one should make that endeavor through all mediums, mind, body, heart, soul, through their words, everything to please their Gurudev. What is more pleasing to one's Gurudev than to glorify their Gurudev? One time, Srila Gurudev was sitting with the devotees surrounding him, and everyone was just looking at him, completely smitten with affection. And Gurudev saw all the devotees looking at him with so much affection. And he said, "Oh, I know what you are thinking." And then everyone looked at him very excitedly. And he said, "Oh, you are thinking that your Guru Maharaj is so beautiful." And everyone was like, "Yes, yes, yes." And he said, "You can only think like that because you have not seen how beautiful was my Guru Maharaj. How beautiful was Param Gurudev Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Maharaj." And
was asking what the ashtakam starts
oh,
with.
Radha Chinta Nideshena. And I don't know what the page number is yet. And what kind of conviction, what kind of strong faith did Gurudev have in his Gurudev? Gurudev said that one should glorify any Vaishnava in terms of their relationship and their nishta in their own Guru. So once upon a time, we were in South Africa. At that time, there was a lot of opposition coming to Gurudev's preaching, and especially just prior to his arrival, so much opposition was there from another group. They were even publishing things in magazines and stealing our advertisements from the newspaper and putting their own advertisements because they worked with the papers and everything else. So it was quite a heavy anti-propaganda to our Srila Gurudev prior to his arrival and even during his stay there. Programs were arranged on the same evening, on the same street, and everyone had to have any written reason for not being present in their program if they were members of their congregation. So it was quite intense and quite heavy. So our local devotees were telling us we should try to keep the peace, we should try to be humble, you know, and we know they're offensive, but we don't want to create any dissension or this or that. And so we were in a situation where we were getting quite irate because we were there to preach in advance to bring people to come to see our Gurudev. And there was so much anti-propaganda even against what we were doing. So it was a very difficult task. And finally, when Srila Gurudev came, we were going for a walk, I don't remember where, morning walk. And Sudevi asked me to ask Srila Gurudev a two-part question. What should one do if anyone is saying things, false things about your Guru and being disrespectful? And he said, "Oh, you should try to cut their arguments with Shastra. Cut their tongue with the arguments from Shastra. But if you are not weak enough, if you're not strong enough, Gurudev said, if you are too weak, then you should leave that place immediately. You should cover your ears so you don't hear anymore. You should chant the names of Krishna. Go to any body of water, a lake, a river, or the ocean, and jump in with all of your clothes on and pray to Krishna for forgiveness from hearing that aparad." And that was okay. I've heard that one before. Yes, one should be like this. And the second part was, Srila Gurudev, what would you do if someone was spreading false rumors about your Gurudev, telling false things and criticizing your Gurudev and telling lies about your Guru? He said, "My Guru?" I said, "Yes, Srila Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Maharaj, your Guru, Param Gurudev." He said, "My Guru?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I would beat them." Like this. He lifted his hand, "I would beat them." So you see his conviction when it came to his Gurudev, how he would fight for the honor of his Gurudev. But when he was thinking that it was about himself, then he was like a little peaceful. Oh, you should, if you're not strong enough to cut the arguments, then run and jump in any body of water and cover your ears. But if it was his Gurudev and someone was going against his Gurudev, like this. And also, our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, he also had this very similar sentiment toward his Gurudev. If anyone was saying anything against Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, if any disciple or anyone was going against his teachings, immediately our Param Gurudev would make a court case against them. And Srila Bhakti Beggar Bharati Maharaj said that our Param Gurudev had said that no preaching mission is successful unless there's a minimum of 3 court cases going simultaneously. So this is how much conviction Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj had in the lotus feet of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Goswami Maharaj, had similar conviction in the lotus feet of his Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. So when you read the biography of our Param Gurudev, which our Srila Gurudev compiled, and it was authorized also by Srila Bhaktivedānta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and Bhaktivedānta Trivikram Maharaj, and so many Vaishnavas. When you read that, you see the conclusions of Param Gurudev Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. Srila Gurudev said, even if all other scriptures, everything were to be lost, if only that remained, nothing would be lost. We would lose nothing. So when you see the conclusions of the teachings of our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and you see how he was in relation to his Gurudev, that if anyone would even slightly deviate from the teachings of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, our Param Gurudev would very soundly silence them or take them to court and defeat them. Then you know how strongly our Param Gurudev adhered to the moods and teachings of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And our Srila Gurudev placed his teachings and conceptions in that book and adhered to those teachings as non-different from those of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And now some of our Gurudev's disciples, so-called, I'm using this word very, very boldly, so-called disciples dare to try to challenge the teachings of Param Gurudev. This will be the most displeasing thing to Gurudev that anyone could ever do. If one wants to please Gurudev, you uphold the teachings of his Gurudev and uphold Gurudev's teachings and represent that to others as Srila Gurudev has ordered. This will be pleasing to Srila Gurudev. Anything else might get one rejected. But to hold tightly to those conceptions as Srila Gurudev gave them, then one can develop one day Guru Nishtha, which is the backbone of bhakti. So our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, placed the essence of who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in this beautiful Ashtakam that we're going to sing, page 272. And I was telling you why I'm going to sing this, because this is the teachings of Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and by singing this, Srila Gurudev will be very pleased. And this is really the hope for any disciple, is that our Gurudev may be pleased with us. Page 272. Thank you, Raktambar Prabhu. Yeah, I remember hearing that. I think even one of them actually hit him. I think Shyam Sundar, was it? He actually hit him. He didn't care about his position or anything. He's like, how dare you speak like that? He was very irate. So Radha Vinod Bihari Tatvashtakam. And this is Radha Vinod Bihari and Shachi Nandan Gaurahari. So this is about them. Radha Chinta Nivesheno yasya kantirvilopita Shri Krishna charanam vande radhanindita vigraham radha chinta nidesheno yasya kantirvilopita Shri Krishna charanam vande radhanindita vigraham seva sevaka sambhave dvayorabheda kuto bhave viprarambhe tu sarvasya veda sada vivardhate seva sevaka sambhave dvayorabheda kuto bhave viprarambhe tu sarvasya veda sada vivardhate Śrīla Vedam machintyakam Shakti Shakti Patoraityam Yuga Padvartate Sada Śrīla Vedam tatam Vedam machintyakam Shakti Shakti Madhuraityam Yuga Parvatate Sada Katham Ekam Param Vidya Vilayatam Dvidhasitam Gaura Krishna Swayam Yeta Katham ekam param vidya vilayatam dvidhasitam Gaura Krishna Swayam Yeta Ahnuta Sarve Varna Yatra Vishra Gora Kantir Vikashate Sarva Varnino Dinostu Krishna Varno Prakashate Sarve Varna Yatra Vishra Gora Kantir Vikashate Sarva Varnino Dinostu Krishna Varno Prakashate Sagunam Nirgunam Tatam Ekam Deva Dvitiyakam Sarva Nitya Gunain Goram Krishna Rasa Sudhirmuna Sagunam Nirgunam Tatam Ekam Deva Dvitiyakam Sarva Nitya Gunain Goram Krishna Rasa Sudhirmuna Shri Krishna Netunam Brahma Dakwatu Nirgunam Hitat Upasate Vrishavidyano Sri Satyavrata Muni ki jai. I'm just checking here, Anjali's putting in parentheses. According to the opinion of modern scientists, black is actually devoid of color. It may have been at that time. We don't know. Maybe at that time they may have thought that. Now we have the understanding that it is the absorption of all colors, and white is the reflection of all colors. Nonetheless, it's interesting that our Param Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedānta Keshava Gosvāmī Mahārāja is also referencing through this medium the meanings of transcendental colors. Krishna, what is his nature? He's Vishai Bhagavan, the supreme enjoyer. So he's absorbing everything. So that goes perfectly in line with what Anjali is telling. Oh, there you are. All attractive as Shyam makes even more sense. And Srimati Radhika, she is made of love and affection for Krishna. She is Krishna's own pleasure potency, Hladini Shakti. She has nothing to take for herself and everything to give to Krishna. But she is also the medium by which everyone's love and affection is transmitted to Krishna. In essence, she is that spotless mirror, focusing all love and affection from everyone to Krishna. So we focus our love and affection toward her, and she is that medium who focuses it to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swami Prabhupada said, she is the medium by which one's love and affection is transmitted to Krishna. And because he loves her most, and our mood is how to please Krishna most, then our function is how to push Radharani to Krishna. So, there you have Srila Prabhupada confirming that point. Srimati Radhika's complexion is the complexion of complete wholesale self-surrender to Krishna to the maximum degree. Taptakanchana Gaurangi. She is said to be the complexion of molten gold. A lot of times people mistaken the color of molten gold to gold. Have you ever seen molten gold? It is the most brilliant, bright, white, effulgent, Unata Ujvala means supremely brilliant things like this. It's very difficult to even see this so bright. So, all kinds of love and affection, all moods of love and affection, only for Krishna. Radha chintani veshena yasya kantir vilopita Shri Krishna charanam vande Radha alingita vigraham. Radha alingita, meaning Krishna, who is so deeply absorbed in Srimati Radhika that he becomes fully embraced, Gurudev said, from all sides, fully encapsulated in essence by Srimati Radhika, that is Krishna himself, Nomi Krishna Swarupam, endeavoring to taste, taking shelter of Srimati Radhika to taste her moods of love and affection for Krishna, completely absorbed in that, in essence embraced, Radha Alingita, embraced by Srimati Radhika, that Krishna, who is tasting Radhika's bhavs, has manifested her complexion, because he is experiencing the mood of loving affection for Krishna. Therefore, his complexion, just like Gaurangi, becomes Gauranga. Shri Satyavrata Gaura Hari ki jai. Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai. Yes, Raktambar Prabhu. I've read it many times from Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas that he's blackish complexion. We're so blue that he is black appearing, but also effulgent and brilliant, and it's not able to be reproduced in this world. We hear so many different descriptions of the beauty of Krishna. No. I'm trying to remember. Yes. Tinged with the beauty and the hue, blue cloud. So the color of a monsoon rain cloud or sapphire. So many different examples are given. Sometimes, have you seen a crow, how black they are? That they look almost blue? That color, that bluish, and it's also a kind of reflective or translucent. It also has this reflective capacity to it. So different descriptions have been given. And of course, one of our Gurudevs and some of our acharyas' favorite, black snake. There's a black snake out there, and if it bites you, that poison will never leave. So many different descriptions have been given to Krishna and his complexion. But unless we have the divine eyes to see, we will never truly know. And even if we do know, the more we know, the more we will feel that we don't know. When Gurudev would speak about this conception, those who think they know, he said, like first day school children learning how to write ABC, C-A-T, cat, ball, B-A-L-L. So they've learned that much and they go home and they think they know everything. They think they know the entire language and everything, and they're so proud, and their parents say, oh, you're doing so good. But what do they know? So if we think that we know so much, when it comes to Krishna, who's unlimited, and even Ananta Shesha, his own manifestation, Baladev Prabhu's form as Ananta Shesha, has been glorifying or endeavoring to glorify Krishna since time without beginning, with all of his unlimited mouths for all time. And even he feels completely incapable of scratching even the surface of Krishna's unlimited glories. So on this path, the path of love, the path of faith, the path of devotion to Krishna, the more that we will learn, the more that we will know, the more we will realize, I don't know anything. That is why our acharyas, when they endeavor to glorify other acharyas, they feel completely inadequate. How can you glorify someone whose glories are unlimited? To even attempt to do something is like what audacity to even attempt, but yet for our own purification we must make that endeavor. The arc of electricity, nice. now I'm going to sing one bhajan, which is very sweet, that our Srila Gurudev himself wrote. Some people, make claims that that's not true. They say, because I've been singing it for the last 30 or 40 years. Well, remember, Gurudev has been or was here way before that. So the history of this Braja Janamana Sukhakari, page 366, that we have heard, is that Srila Gurudev saw that our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, during Braj Mandal Parikrama, was familiar with all of the local Sangeets, all of these sweet Braj Kirtans, and would relish them very much as he was going from village to village. He knew all of them. And so our Gurudev felt inspired, because he also comes from this Hindi background, from Bihar. So he wrote this beautiful Braja Janamana Sukhakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam. And he presented it like a gift to our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, who was so pleased upon receiving it that he signed our Srila Gurudev's name in it. So there in the last verse, you see Nārāyaṇa Balihari. Our Gurudev didn't put that. Our Param Gurudev said, bring me a pen. And he wrote there, Nārāyaṇa Balihari. So once we were in Amaritswit, I hope I pronounced that correctly, for all you devotees who are there. And that's in Wales, Gurudev's program. And Gurudev had Sudevi and Vishaka sing that bhajan. It was, I think, the first time they sang for him. And we had been practicing it just in case Gurudev would ask them to sing, which he had never done before. But anyhow, we had practiced it a little bit from what we had heard from an old cassette. And when Gurudev said to them, any sweet kirtan, immediately, oh, that was off tune. The harmonium went, and they said, Radhe Braja Janamana Sukhakar. And Gurudev said, oh. And then when they came, Radhe Shyama Shyam, and he said, yes. And then when they came, Maharaj told them to sing each line twice. And Gurudev was also in a very grave and deep mood at that time. He closed his eyes and he had his head bowed like this. And Maharaj was like singing each line twice. And then when they came to the Nārāyaṇa Balihari, Nārāyaṇa Balihari, Gurudev bowed his head like this.
He folded his hands.
Yeah, he folded. You didn't see that, did you?
Oh, because there's a delay.
Okay. He folded his hands and bowed his head at that time. And some years later, I ran to Srila Gurudev's room at the festival near Kassel in Germany. I hope I pronounced that right. And because I had heard that Gurudev had written that bhajan and has his name in it. And so I ran to his room, and because I was always a little bit worried, I might not get any chance to ask any of these questions, so let me run and ask. So I asked Gurudev, when you composed this bhajan, Braja Janamana Sukhakari, what mood was in your heart? What tune was in your heart? I asked him. And he said, what tune you have? And I said, Braja Janamana Sukhakari Radhe Shyama Shyama Shyam. And he was like, no. And I was like, oh my God, that's the one we've always been singing. And then he said, another one? I said, Braja Janamana Sukhakari Radhe Shyama 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 Shyam. He said, something but not. And I said, Braja Janamana Sukhakari Radhe Shyama Shyama Shyam. He said, yes, that one. So he didn't deny. When I said that bhajan, Braja Janam, when you wrote it, when you composed it, what mood was in your heart? He didn't say, I didn't write it or anything. He accepted that. And then he said that was the tune that was in his heart. Except, Except I don't really know that tune. I have to go back and learn it. So we're going to sing the other one. But I just wanted to share that point with you, that some say that, oh, this was just a local bhajan and Gurudev just changed some things in it or something and his name was put in there. But this one was written by Srila Gurudev. There's another one that's very similar, Madhava Madana Murari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam. I think that one was also sung by Achyutananda Swami on the old cassettes. You might say Madhava Madana Murari Radhe Shyama Shyama Shyam Radhe, right? So this one is Brajajana Manasukakari. See, it may be Kirvani. I'll try. Hopefully it is. Shri Radhe Braja Janamana Sukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Braja Janamana Sukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Shyama Shyama Shyam Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Braja Janamana Sukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Braja Janamana Sukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Murmukutamakarākrita kundara galavaijanti Murmukutamakarākrita kundara galavaijanti Charanana Nupurarasal Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Charanana Nupurarasal Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe 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 Braja Jana Manasukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Radhe Braja Jana Manasukakari Radhe Shyam Shyama Shyam Sundara Vadana Kamal Shama Shama Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Nārāyaṇa Balihari, Radhe Shyam, Shyama Shyam, Radhe Nārāyaṇa Balihari, Radhe Shyam, Shyama Shyam, Radhe 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 Shyam. Shri Radha Govind Ji ki Jai, Radha Shyam Sundar Ji ki Jai. Wow. Huh? What's it again?
Did you hear me?
No, just a little bit.
I just said be aware of the time.
Mm. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Namine. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedānta Swāmine Namine. Vanchākalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitānaṁ Pāvanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vācālam pangam langayate girim yakrapātamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandavat Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Prabhishnam Vishnupad, Ashtotara Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. And the same thousands of Dandavat Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Prabhishnam Vishnupad, Ashtotara Shri Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Swami Shri Prabhupada. To all of our Rupanuga Guru Varga as well. And to all Vaishnavas past, present and future, including all of you who are present with us today, I offer my Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, dear Vaishnavas. Radhe, Radhe, Radhe Shyam.
Radhe, Radhe. So there's not much time left. I actually didn't plan it this way. I didn't really plan it. But as we were singing the bhajans, I was remembering so many different sweet pastimes, teachings, and interactions, inspirations from Srila Gurudev. And so I was sharing it in between the bhajans, and now it feels like there was no class, where in actuality, we probably spoke for about an hour and a half. So we're not going to continue too much longer, although yesterday was just amazing hearing Gurudev's life from his own words. And then also all of those different interactions and lessons. The fact that it went to 10, I think it could have kept going for hours more. But it was so fulfilling to hear so much about Srila Gurudev. As Srila Gurudev himself expressed, that first and foremost, one should apply this verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam. The verse defining pure bhakti, first and foremost, at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. He expressed that Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, that the first form of Krishna to manifest in our life is Sri Guru. And so first and foremost, we apply these principles of complete dedication, exclusive one-pointedness at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. And I remember just reading it yesterday. Srila Gurudev expressed what Sri Guru does for us. He takes our hearts and makes them qualified. Even though we might see that we have no qualification, still he can see so much potential. And that's the beauty of the compassion, the mercy, and the Tattvadarshi-ness, I'm just adding that. That person who can see everything, they can see the truth, they can see the nature of our soul. So they're able to, in essence, bypass all of our external mundane disqualifications and see what our potential is. And so as much as we have destroyed our own personal, you can say, the beautiful garden that should be there for Krishna to play. And as much as it might be full of garbage, full of trash, so gross and horrible and maybe detestful, still Sri Guru sees it and recognizes it. Prime property there. We also see it here in Vrindavan. People trash certain areas, but actually it is Vrindavan. And if someone just cleans that trash, even if they don't, that property is extremely valuable right now. Monetarily, to buy a piece of land in Vrindavan is probably more expensive than England. It's extremely pricey. So Our hearts are like this. They're meant to be Vrindavan. And Srila Gurudev is seeing what is our potential. This is the mercy of Gurudev. That's why our Vaishnava Acharyas always pray, please overlook my faults and see what is my real internal hankering, necessity. Please see that. And let all of this other thing, it's only temporary. Please see the nature of my soul. Sri Guru is looking at us. What is your potential? Beautiful, beautiful garden can be made there for Radha and Krishna. As I'm speaking this, I may have told you before, there's one of the most famous gardens in the world. It's on Vancouver Island, Victoria. The, what is it called? Bouchard Gardens. And that place was previously a strip mine. You know what a strip mine is? A strip mine is when they use tractors and everything and dig the soil to find anything like gold or any valuable gems or metals or anything until there is nothing left there. Even that soil cannot sustain life. It cannot grow any food or grass or anything. It's just dug too deep. And so it's just a wasteland. And so this place previously was a wasteland with so many rusted old things and garbage and old dead tractors rusting. And it was just horrible. No one wanted anything to do with it. But this person, Bouchard, he had vision. He saw this place, this abandoned old strip mine. And instead of looking at it from the perspective of, look at this horrible, burnt out wasteland. Nothing can grow here. No one can ever enjoy anything here. He saw it for its potential. So he cleaned up the garbage. I think he acquired it for a very low price. He cleaned up all of the garbage. He imported topsoil from so many locations and put new soil there. Restructured the shape, planted so many beautiful flowers and trees and made lakes and everything. And now it is considered one of the most beautiful gardens in the world. Until lockdown, until this year, millions of people were going every year to visit these gardens. But Gurudev sees our hearts like this. We have, again and again, improperly used our energy, our time, and our hearts. We have given our attachment, our attention, our energy, our focus to our own senses and to the senses of others of this world. And by doing that, we have in essence short-circuited ourselves. Instead of giving our love and affection to Krishna where it is meant to flow, we have turned that electric wire back to ourselves. And that has created a burnt wasteland, full of all kinds of nonsense and garbage and everything. And yet, Sri Guru sees what is the nature of your Atma. Oh, the seed of your Atma, your intrinsic nature, is to serve Srimati Radhika and Krishna in the Nikunjas of Vrindavan, in the group of Lalita Sakhi under the guidance of Sri Rupa Manjari. Oh, but look at how much garbage and everything. Okay, no harm. Let me clean. So he begins to clean. Guru is cleaning. And what does he require from us? Don't keep throwing garbage back in that place. Don't keep throwing all that glass and those dangerous objects back there where Guru is doing this cleaning job. Maybe we can assist Gurudev somehow to clean it by following the instructions of Gurudev. He sees the potential. This is one of Srila Gurudev's main instructions and teachings also. I told about Mahaprabhu. Another main one he was representing was that what is there is already inherent within us. It always was there. It always will be there. It is our intrinsic makeup. I like using this term DNA of the soul because it means that what is meant to be will be, and anything else will not satisfy you if that is not what your intrinsic inherent nature is. And Srila Gurudev very, very firmly established the teachings of his Gurudev, who established the teachings of his Gurudev, that it is nothing to be given from any outside source. There's no superimposition of something that is not intrinsically there. It is by the association of the Vaishnavas, by their Harikatha, that what is inside wakes up. And Sri Gurudev said that Sri Guru recognizes the intrinsic nature of the jiva, can see what is its potential, as any gardener can see the nature of any seed, how that seed will fructify, will become a tree, will have a certain kind of leaves, how many branches, what kind of fruit it will bear, even the taste, the sweetness of those fruits. Sri Guru can see that and engages the disciple in the necessary sadhana to awaken that particular intrinsic inherent mood. And Srila Gurudev said, Gurudev does not give anything new from outside. Never and never. So I take my Gurudev's words for it. He's not creating anything new. It's already inherently within. And this conception is very strongly preached by our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, all of our Guru Varga, apparently Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada as well, because Param Gurudev would take anyone to court if they were to deviate from that, and definitely also Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur. Definitely. So this was one of the main essential points of our Gurudev's teaching. Another one, we did not fall from Leela with Krishna. Our Gurudev would say sometimes it may be said like this for one reason or another, but according to the Tattva Siddhanta, it cannot be possible. Krishna says, Yad Gatvamami Vartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. That once one attains to my abode, they never return to this material world of birth and death, including the fact that Maya cannot even cross the dividing line between the material and spiritual worlds. Means she cannot even reach up to Vaikuntha, or to speak of going beyond Vaikuntha to Ayodhya, Dwarka, Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Radha Kund. How is it that Krishna can be playing in Vrindavan? And at any time, at any day, suddenly Maya will just take one of his best friends and they'll just disappear. Krishna will be thinking, oh, I guess I'm not all attractive after all. They left me. They don't want me. They don't like me. That would be such a disturbance to his Leela. So our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedānta Thakur as well, all of our Guru Varga, our Guru Parampara, have established via the Tattva Siddhanta and even reconciled what some of our acharyas would say from time to time, like our Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes he would say something like, oh, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities. It's there. But due to association with Maya since time immemorial, wait a second, time immemorial originally, there's a contradiction in words right there. One is eternal and one is eternal. So how do you reconcile this? To be able to reconcile, we take shelter of our Purva Acharyas or any pure devotee who can reconcile. So this was also a main point of Srila Gurudev's teachings, that when you see contradictory teachings within the words of one particular acharya, it needs to be reconciled by someone who is of that caliber or who understands that truth, who is a tattvadarshi and who can reconcile it. It's absolutely necessary. Also, Srila Gurudev told that if anyone, any guru or any other acharya, even another Mahabhagavat is saying something that is even slightly different from your Gurudev, he said you must reconcile it immediately. Otherwise, it will go in like a seed of doubt. Very quickly, it will grow into a big tree and it will destroy everything. So you must get that reconciled if any doubt comes. For a conditioned soul to sit on a doubt for a long time, it will only amplify itself. So it is necessary to always be under guidance, under sadhu sangha, and to ask relevant questions for proper advancement on the path of bhakti. It doesn't show here that it's doing that. Oh my goodness, I'm throwing garbage back in that place after he is cleaning. Yes, we don't want to do that to Gurudev. See it like this. Beautiful, sweet maidservant of Srimati Radhika, sweeping the kunja. She's not wearing shoes. None of them are wearing shoes. What kind of thorns and glass and all kinds of dangerous objects are we throwing in that place? If we take our own pulse, put our hands to our hearts, and consider the amount of hard work it takes to rescue even one jiva from this world, and we have even a little appreciation, really, honestly, a little bit of appreciation for what Sri Guru is giving, then that attachment, that love and affection will develop. And as we mentioned the other day, what is the proof of that attachment, that affection? We will do what is favorable and pleasing to that person whom we have affection for. And we will avoid doing those things which are unfavorable or displeasing to the object of our love and affection. That is the nature of love, of affection, of possessiveness, of attachment. An attachment to the lotus feet of Sri Guru, this will bring all perfection. So if we could even have a little bit of an understanding of how much endeavor they have made for our sake. And we only see this life. We don't know about millions of other lives. How much endeavor they have made to help us, to bring us to this path of love and devotion to Krishna. And we truly have attachment, then we will make the endeavor in our lives to not disappoint them, or to not make all of their hard work go in vain. Like Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj said, you cannot imagine the shock that Guru feels when the disciple rejects and rushes back into that blazing forest fire. At this moment, I'm remembering when there were massive forest fires in Los Angeles, just burning everywhere. And there was one video that came on the news. And in that video, there was a car pulled off to the side of the road, and there were animals coming out of that fire. And they were taking those animals that were burnt, and they were, they would nurture them and nurse them back to health. This one small rabbit came jumping out of the fire, and they were trying to catch it because it was burning. And then it turned around and jumped back in the fire, and they're screaming, no, 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 please, no. And you can hear them crying, don't do that, don't do that. And then it came back out again. They're like it was shocking to their heart to see him jump back into the fire. They were so upset. Can you imagine what Sri Guru, who is Paraduka Dukhi, whose heart is breaking upon seeing our suffering condition, feels when they're giving us nourishment, so much help, giving us medicine. Gurudev said, I'm the only doctor and you're all patients in my hospital. And we just jump back into that fire. The shock, the pain. It actually is quite intense thing for that personality whose heart bleeds upon seeing the suffering of the jivas of this world. And so in reciprocation to them, we can make the endeavor to try. Gurudev said to try is bhakti. But to try is not a cheap thing. I remember someone trying to hand me a pen. This is my pen right now. It's not really a pen. And they handed it to me and they said, try to take this. Try to take this from me. And so I took it. They said, no. Try to take it. And I took it again. They said, no, don't take it. Try to take it. And I was like, and they said, you can either take it or you're not taking it. So to try actually means, for us, either we're not taking it or we are. And Gurudev, again and again, he kept saying, why do I keep coming for you? Why do I keep coming here? Again and again and again. To remind you. He would say to remember you. To don't be weak. Chant your Harinam. Chant your mantras. Associate with the pure devotees. Don't criticize. Avoid aparad. Be strong. Chant and remember the sweet pastimes of Krishna. And he was never satisfied speaking unless he would end with the sweet pastimes of Krishna. He would say, if I did not speak about these sweet pastimes of Krishna, then everything else would be useless. In other words, the point of everything else he spoke was to somehow bring us to that point. Somehow or other, to attract us to wanting to love and serve Krishna. Somehow or other, he was making that endeavor by telling the sweet Harikatha, that prayer that is written for him, Shri Krishna Lila Kathane Sudaksham, Audarya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam, Varambarenyam Purusham Mahantam, Nārāyaṇa Shirashan Namami. He's expert in telling Krishna Lila. So many people can tell it, but he, you could tell, was absorbed in it, and he was not doing it for any other reason, no other motive. He wasn't asking us for money. If he ever asked for money, it was only to serve the Dham. It was only to serve the Vaishnavas. It was only to serve Krishna. It wasn't for himself. Many years back, he was living in Mathura, in the Shri Keshavji Gauriya Math, and his room was very small. I don't know if you remember. It was about, probably 3 meters by 4 meters maximum, 9 by 12. And in there, he also had bookshelves and a bed. So a bed for him, small bed, and big bookshelf here, big bookshelf there, something there. He didn't have much room. And also he would give darshans in there as well. So it was very small. It was dark. It was like a little bhajan kutir. And he was completely satisfied and happy there. Although he had thousands of disciples, all of Mathura, so many. In Navadvip also, so many persons were his disciples. And yet he was living in such a simple situation. And very comfortable, very happy, and everything. But one day someone bought or decided to build on the property next door. And they literally left this much air room between his window and the wall. So it was quite stuffy and there was no airflow. So it became a little difficult for him. So they decided to build a room on top, on the roof, a new room for Gurudev, Shri Keshavji Gauriya Math. So that room was planned. They had a nice toilet room added and enough for more darshan. Little kitchen section was added on the side. And that room was something like 4 meters by 4 meters. Not so much bigger, except the floor wasn't made of cement. And the walls were brighter and much more light and air from many different sides. And they put marble on the floors. We have marble in here also. And when Srila Gurudev saw it, he was like, no, I can't accept this. It's too opulent. I can't do it. And they said, you can't stay there. You have to accept this. So because they kind of told him that's what he had, and then he had to accept it. But he was feeling himself, I can't. It's too much. I can't accept this kind of opulence. He didn't want it. He was satisfied in that small little dark dungeon-like room. It was like a dungeon-like room. And he just was residing there, chanting, reading, studying, remembering, giving Harikatha. And if there was a bigger darshan necessary, he would just come outside and sit there and the devotees would surround him. But what kind of humility is that? He didn't want to take anything for himself, but he was just giving and giving and giving. Even so many senior devotees, after the departure of Srila Bhaktivedānta Srila Maharaj, and even before that, but especially after that, because Srila Prabhupada had given instruction to the devotees, they asked, is there anyone we can consult if we have any questions on bhakti or anything like that? And Srila Prabhupada told the devotees that, yes, for these technical questions, like you can go to my godbrother, Srila Bhaktivedānta Srila Maharaj. So they did go to him for some time. Many of them. the senior Vaishnavas. The juniors or those who weren't in the high positions weren't really allowed to go, but some did, like from Kishori Prabhu and Padmanabha Maharaj. But also, Srila Prabhupada had ordered our Srila Gurudev to put him in samadhi with his own hands, and also to help his disciples. So our Srila Gurudev, I remember it was in 1996, he told, or 97. He said, Swamiji ordered me to help them. And they're telling me, don't come. But he's my Shiksha Guru. Whose order should I follow? Whose order should I follow? Should I try to follow his, or should I follow theirs? And we're like, well, you have to follow his. And he's like, so even if they don't want me, I still must try to follow his order. So many people were, for many years, going to hear from him. And you can even see the photos. So many. They were even offering Dandavat Pranam to him. You can hear on the cassettes, respecting him as their Shiksha Guru, non-different from their Diksha Guru. Doing arti to him. Accompanying him on the parikramas. They were receiving so much from him and asking so many questions. I'm talking about GBCs and gurus, like top of the, rank and file, but not rank and file, top of that. So many, for so many years, we're going to hear from him. Also Shyamarani Didi, Jadurani Didi, Vrindavan Vilasini Didi, so many. And after receiving from him for many, many years, suddenly, 3/4 or most of them just suddenly stopped and turned on him and literally rejected him. And this is also quite a painful thing. But anyhow, he continued to give to the best of his ability, whatever he could. He would say, oh, they're like naughty boys. But anyhow, because he was ordered to help, even those who may be considered the most wayward of Prabhupada's disciples, who were even rejected or rejectable by everyone else, because Gurudev ordered him to nourish them, to help them. Still, this is the nature of the pure Vaishnava. Paradukha Dukhi, seeing the suffering of those jivas, they have to give their mercy. Like our Param Gurudev's Pranam Mantra, Atimartya Charitraya Svashritanam Chapaline, Jiva Duke Sadataya Śrī Nama Prema Dayane. Seeing the suffering of the jivas in this world, they want to give the best thing. Oh, you are suffering. Oh, just because you've done every worst thing that you can possibly do does not mean that the jiva, the soul, is not an eternal servant of Krishna. There is not, Gurudev said this before, there is not one sin that any of us have not committed millions of times over in our sojourn through our material existence. Not one. I can't end on that point. But that's something to consider. And yet, despite the fact that he can see hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of our previous lifetimes, and theoretically could judge us for all of that, he opened his arms wide and accepted all of us, not just his own disciples. In fact, he was traveling on the order of our Srila Prabhupada to help his disciples. And so many of us, I'm going to say, little crustaceans got caught along with the big fish, so to speak. You cast that net, and so many different creatures come in with the net. But he was there to help and nourish those, what he would say, waterize. To waterize those personalities who were drying up. To somehow give some inspiration, some nectar, where they would feel re-enthused to continue to follow strictly and strongly the teachings of their Guru Maharaj. So his whole life, his whole everything was to help others on the external, and inside always doing his bhajan, serving Guru Gauranga, Radha and Krishna. But one speciality of Srila Gurudev, and this is, I'm going to end on this point today, one speciality of our Srila Gurudev was that if you look at the crowd of devotees who were before him, it was almost unlike any other crowd that you would see in any other group. It was composed of disciples of Srila Prabhupada, disciples of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srira Maharaj, disciples of Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, disciples of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, disciples of Bhaktivedānta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, disciples of Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, disciples of so many different gurus, and of course his own disciples. And he had opened his arms wide to embrace all of them so that he can give nourishment. And his mood was not to take them for himself. Not at all. His mood was how to encourage them to absorb themselves more deeply in surrendering to their Gurudev. And so he was nourishing from all sides. Subsequent to Srila Gurudev's physical departure from our vision, so many were saying, if anyone leaves this Sangha and goes to any other Mahabhagavat, literally these words, you will betray Gurudev and you will be making aparad to Gurudev. My blood was boiling. Those exact words were exactly opposite to everything Gurudev told. And one after another from the main stage was saying that. And I was like, my God, how can someone speak these words? If anyone goes to any other Mahabhagavat for nourishment outside of our group, you are offensive and betraying Gurudev. Aparadhi to Gurudev. My position was anyone who dares say these words, this is offensive not only to Gurudev, but to all Shastra and Vaishnavas. Because it's just not true. It's not true. What Gurudev always was saying, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati, wherever you can get that nectar, that nourishment of what your Guru has given you, what will increase your faith and your inspiration on the path of devotion and your conviction in the lotus feet of your Gurudev, you should get it without delay by any means possible. Any Vaishnava from any group who can give that to you. Gurudev was always preaching this, and he showed by his own example who was sitting in front of him. If that other idea were true, then Gurudev would have been guilty of making all of those people aparadhis and betrayers of their own Guru. In essence, well, then you have a choice. Either he's guilty of that, or they're wrong. So I asked this question to Srila Bhaktivedānta Bharati Maharaj directly. He said, any questions? My first question to him was, some are saying that in order for someone to be your Shiksha Guru, they have to have been physically close to your Diksha Guru, otherwise they can't be your Shiksha Guru. Can you please shed some light on this understanding or something to clarify this? And his first thing, he was like, we have not heard such things. We have never heard such things, he said. And then he quoted that beautiful prayer from the Puranas about how the sun and the lotus flower are so physically distant from each other, but yet so close by heart that the lotus flower blooms upon the presence of the sun. In the same way, the night lotus blooms upon the presence of the moon, and the peacock begins to dance upon the presence of the thunder in the monsoon rain cloud. Although they're so far away, still their relationship is so close. So he said, physical proximity is not the barometer. It is a matter of the mood in the heart. And that completely confirmed everything Gurudev had said and what Shastra itself says. So when he spoke those words, I felt so pacified. But Mahaprabhu Prabhu and others said that for the next 3 days, Srila Bharati Maharaj was really concerned. Why are they saying these things to him? Why are they saying these things? Why? He was very upset why they are saying these kinds of things. Those, if you go to anyone outside of your group, to hear from them, they cannot be your Shiksha Guru. They have to have been physically close. So many different ideas have manifested in Gurudev Sangha, or I won't call it Gurudev Sangha, but in the name of Gurudev Sangha since his physical departure from our vision. But our duty as aspiring disciples is to accept the discipline, the teachings, the instructions, the moods, the conceptions that our Gurudev has given us. If we really want to please him, then one, we should practice it ourselves. And two, Srila Gurudev said, even though you cannot repay me in thousands of lifetimes, millions of lifetimes, for what I am giving you, one thing you can do. Whoever you meet, you can share these moods, these teachings, and these conceptions. So hold it tightly. Don't change it. Don't twist it. Don't manipulate it. Don't concoct. What we have received, we accept it. And two, whoever we meet, we can share it with them. This will be pleasing to Gurudev. So on this note, I'm going to end today, and we will continue tomorrow. So Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Rupānuga Guru Varga ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. What's the time? Ooh. Okay. You know, Śrīla Gurudev's glories are also unlimited. He said, they may not understand now what I have given. And he was referring to anyone who may even be against him at this point in time. He said, but one day they will understand. They will understand. Everyone will understand. So this is a prediction, like Srila Bhaktivedānta predicted and Mahaprabhu predicted. One day, his name will be chanted in every town and village. Our Gurudev said, one day they will all understand. And I'll just put it in context for you. We were at Radha Gokulananda Mandir, and there Srila Gurudev began to speak, and it was during Parikrama. He was sitting kind of on the stairs near where Thakurji is, looking at all of the devotees. And he said, Rupa Gosvāmī came, and he established Parakiya Ras, Parakiya Bhav, the mood of the gopis' love and affection for Krishna. He very strongly established this Parakiya Ras. Gurudev then said, after some time it became lost. Then again, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came and he re-established this Parakiya Ras. Again, after some time, it became lost. And now, I have come, he said. And I was sitting there just kind of listening, and then it hit me. He wasn't saying that all of our other acharyas didn't have that qualification, but this was a speciality of his. One of his specialized gifts was what Rupa Goswami came to give, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur came to give. This is what he came to give. We all know that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is considered a manifestation of Srila Rupa Goswami, like a non-different. And our Srila Gurudev himself has proved that what he has given, if you see in any of his writings, even all in Braj, even the big pundits, anyone, if they had any questions, they would go to him for reference. And he said, I don't know Sanskrit. I don't know all of these big philosophical this and that, but why are they coming to me? Why are they coming to me? He said, it is because I have served my Gurudev a little. So they're all coming to me. So really, this is the glory of our Srila Gurudev. In this sadhak form, that he is completely one-pointed to the lotus feet of his Gurudev. Completely surrendered to his Gurudev. And by this, all success was there. And of course, as Srila Gurudev would say about our Srila Prabhupada, his real glory, and this is the same as our Gurudev's glory. What is it? They are eternally serving lotus feet of Shri Radha and Krishna in the Nikunjas of Vrindavan. Nikunja yuno rati keli siddhyai. They are serving like that, in the same mood and sentiment as Sri Rupa. This glory is also their true and real glory. So, again, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Talk on Gurudev every evening till his appearance day. I think we've been talking on Gurudev every evening since his last appearance day. We will continue, for sure. But it might be that we continue reading Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam as well, because within that, so many glories of Gurudev and his teachings are also manifesting, and the refinement of the beauty of the conceptions that he is giving. It's the same thing that all of our acharyas have given, but how clear and how refined our Gurudev gives it, this is like unprecedented. When there can be, micro difference, just a micro difference of one idea and another, and Gurudev gives that refinement. This was one of his specialities, refining everything to its finest point. He was so expert at that. And especially in rasa tattva, rasa vichar, the conceptions of the moods of the love and affection and what is happening in Vrindavan. And I'll end with this one thing, because Gurudev would always want to end with the sweet pastimes of Krishna. So, I've told this before, but I'm going to tell it again. There was a drama called The Beggar of Praying. Finally, Krishna is trying to pacify Srimati Radhika's anger, her man, jealous anger. And this is a stage of praying. So he's endeavoring to pacify Srimati Radhika. And then he takes his flute, he takes his turban, he takes his peacock feather, offers his most valuable prized possessions at her lotus feet, and then prays, Smaragadala kandanam mama shira shimandanam dehi padapalavamudaram. Please be merciful to me and give me the dust of your lotus feet. Place your lotus feet upon my head. So in the drama, Gurudev was watching, all Vaishnavas were watching. In the drama, Krishna places his head there, and Radhika placed her feet upon Krishna's head. We all appreciated it, until Gurudev afterwards said, this would then never happen. It can't never happen. And we were like, what? He said, Krishna may beg for it. Krishna may plead for this. But Vrishabhanu Nandini Srimati Radhika can never willingly place her feet on Krishna's head like that. I know we've discussed this before, but it's such a fine point. Krishna's begging for it, but she's not going to do it. Where others might think, oh, Krishna's begging for it, so she does it. So when you take that into consideration, only someone who is a true Tattvadarshi, and in this case, Rasa Darshi, who knows these very deep intricacies, can reveal these kind of essential refinements for us so that Rasa Bas is not made. So our Srila Gurudev is no ordinary personality. Our Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja is the best of Rupa Anuga Vaishnavas. And one day, everyone will know and will understand and appreciate the great gift, the great contribution that our Srila Gurudev has given to this world. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hari Hari Bol. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai,
sorry.
Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Rūpānuga Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Patit Pāvana Śrī Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Sri Nandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki jai, Radharman Ju ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Radha ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. So thank you all very much for being with us today and giving us the opportunity to remember the beautiful teachings of our Gurudev and our Guru Varga, and especially to reflect upon the beautiful interactions with Śrīla Gurudev and the lessons and the teachings that he has given us. Also, we feel very indebted to each and every one of you for giving us the opportunity to daily do our Guru Seva, which is our life and soul. We look forward to being with all of you tomorrow and continuing speaking about Śrīla Gurudev. So, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radha Vino Bihari Ju ki
Jai.
jai, Sri Nandana Gaur Hari ki
Ki
jai.